that would be better if I made an intro video. We'll have that for next time. I don't know that anyone is watching yet, or that will even get live viewers tonight. But I really wanted to do like a
live roasting.
A live roast, yeah, of this D&D Shorts video that we had recently. So we're pretty new doing live stream stuff, so we're gonna fumble around a little bit, but don't let that color your view of things we might say. That they'll have to stand on their own. Now let me see, new layout. How shall I present or invite? Okay, share screen. And I'm going to share. Also share sound. Okay, can you guys see this?
Not quite.
Oh, sorry. I'm going to add it in there. I'll add it to the stage. There we go.
I think.
All right, you guys can see this. All right, so we're gonna this video. It was done as like a, hey, let's make fun of old school D&D and people that made this great game, or people that are were just normal back then. Let's make fun of them because we're woke commies today, and so we're better than everybody else that lived back then. Kind of video. That's what this is. So we're going to go through and we're going to listen to it, and we're going to respond to some of the silliness. So, all right, ready?
So the mid-1970s were the Wild West for TTRPGs. Pre-Satanic Panic, first edition of D&D, and they're writing the rules as they go along. One of my favorite things to flick through is the Old Dragon magazine, launched in 1976, which contained official expansions to the core Dungeons & Dragons rules. And some of these early expansions are insane, like beyond your wildest nightmares. They're also amazing as a piece of history for this entire industry, and they are objectively hilarious to look back on today. Case in point, women in D&D.
All right, so it's hilarious. I mean, okay. Well, first of all, he kind of overplays how official this women in D&D stuff was in the early issues of Dragon Magazine. He really kind of overplays that. Kind of makes it sound like it comes out of the core rule book almost as we go through the video, which it doesn't. But even so, like it's kind of like homebrew printed in the official D&D magazine is what it is. But it's not so much that the rules are bad, it's that it's unpalatable to these woke commies. That's what it is. That's the problem, right? And so he's going to do like, no offense to you, terrible people who made this game in the 70s, but you're terrible. That's basically what it is. Any thoughts from you guys so far?
They're so kind, right? And then they say we're the most like Nazis, right? Like that one guy who calls people who support Trump Trumpsies.
Yeah, the guy from our last one that we did. Hey. Yeah, that guy.
Racism.
I can't even remember his name. I don't even care about him. But yeah, this guy, his channel is called D&D Shorts. It's a very successful channel on YouTube. Ours is a tiny channel. Not many people care about it, but people watch this guy's channel, which is amazing to me because I actually find him pretty aggravating. I find him annoying. And I don't know. He strikes me as like an annoying garden gnome.
That's exactly what he looks like.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but nothing against him as like a person, like a child of God, all that stuff. But I just find his approach, his take, and his mannerisms it grinds me. And so I don't watch a lot of his stuff. And also his views, I really don't like his views, so that really is the problem. But as an aside, yeah, I think he probably is a little bit on the tiny little twerp side. I heard that he's a very short guy. D&D shorts is short. And, so I think he tries to compensate with big personality, but it just turns into annoying personality. But I don't know. Anyway, I don't mean to be too mean. I'm going to reserve that for his silly ideas more so. Was that Sonny?
Reserve that for me.
Huh?
The mean one.
Okay, all right. Let's continue. All right.
From the 3rd ever edition of Dragon Magazine. Obviously, these rules are not very PC, but this isn't meant to be like a takedown video.
They're not very PC, which makes them, terrible in his mind, right? So that's why they're a target here. And he says this isn't going to be a takedown video, but that's exactly what it is. So
it was a very different time. We're going back 50 years. We'll actually talk about how the designers who wrote this in the 70s look back on it today, because it's really interesting to see them discuss this original material with a modern lens. But what?
Yeah, well, this modern lens they're talking about is one that has been steeped in socialism, for the last 50 years. So he's acting like the modern lens is a better lens. I don't agree with that. I think the modern lens is a bad lens. It's a more distorted lens because it has more insane concepts that govern what you see through it, right? So this modern lens is the same one that's telling us that boys can be girls and girls can be boys, and we can just, decide to identify as one or the other. That's what the modern lens tells us, right? That's insane, and that is not true. It's just obviously an absurdity. And so we're supposed to take that lens and look back on, people who were just normal back then and didn't think all these crazy ways, and then laugh at them, So we're going to see. And we actually have covered some of the ground that he is going to be talking about in one of our other response videos to Daddy Roll the One, because he goes over these some of these women in D&D rules
like
from Dragon Magazine.
Thing?
Say again?
Like the beauty score kind of thing?
Yeah, the beauty score. We're going to go over the beauty score again. All right, here we go.
What's even more interesting is how wild these rules actually are. But I'm not alone.
Okay, so when they say wild, oh, that's wild. These young kids, whippersnappers, when they say wild, that's a very derogatory. They're basically calling you nuts. They're calling you nuts. So they're saying that you're, basically really, really, really off base and that you're just silly. So it's not to be like, wow, that's like wild in a fun way. It's like, no, that's wild in like a ew kind of way, right? Yeah. So that's what he's saying.
Actual psycho kind of.
Yeah.
Found a white woman digging through the trash outside my home like a starving raccoon.
Well, and the way that they say it, wow, that's wild, is it's kind of like it has a sense of detachment, like, oh, I'm not judging you, man, but that's wild. Like, whoa, that's, out of this world. But it is judging you, like it's totally putting judgment on you, but trying to act like it's not. And so that's part of why I really kind of detest when they use that. Oh, it's wild, man, about your, your different views and stuff. But so he's going to bring in another fellow terrible sociopath commentator, Jimmy G, who's also like basically a woke commie loser. So, all right.
Cool. So let's see what she thinks. Ginny, you are women, correct?
I am. I'm all women.
Well, as
that's actually funny. I kind of like that part. So,
woman, I want to see if you can pass this test. I'm going to read you out rules for playing as a woman in D&D First Edition. Some of them are real, and some of them are fake. And I want you to tell me which ones you think
Okay, so here's the
real.
Here's the person. Sorry, I'm gonna back that up a little bit. D.
Fake. And I want you to tell me which ones.
All right, this is the face of the person that's going to be the arbiter of, what is, basically acceptable as far as women in D&D. If you notice right off the bat, even her eyebrows are dyed greenish blue. She's that far gone. This girl, like, she also has a huge YouTube presence, but she's known for, by people who, follow what she does a little better than I do. She's kind of a sociopath and stuff, weirdo, and totally woke. Hey, Orc Child, how are you doing, man? Thanks for joining. Kind of went on a little bit of a gamble that anyone might join. So we're really glad to see you, man. Now, Diversity in Dragons has already kind of beat me to the punch on, covering this topic. And I did mean to before he did, but things have been crazy busy and I just hadn't had time to get around to it. But I'm doing it now. So let's have fun. All right. So this is the silly commie who's gonna kind of weigh in and give us like her totally enlightened views on these silly cavemen who created this wonderful game that she profits off of.
The silly cavemen.
Yeah, let's do it.
You think are real. In 1E, women do not have charisma scores. Instead, they have a beauty score, which determines the outcome of all social encounters.
Okay, so one thing, and I did bring this up before, he said in 1E, so the way he phrases that, he's making it sound like it comes out of the core rule books. It doesn't. He did talk about Dragon Magazine a little bit, but he should have made it clearer that this is basically like homebrew from the official D&D magazine, right? But the way he phrases it, he makes it sound like, hey, this is how everybody played D&D back in the 70s. It's not true at all. I think very few people ever did this, but that's not to say that it's bad rules. I actually kind of like some of the ideas that they came up with around handling women in D&D, and we can talk about that. But what do you guys think? Is this true or false?
Can I just say how much this guy annoys me just on appearance alone? It looks like he's right on the crossroads of a lumberjack and a twink.
It's
the shoulder. It's the shoulder pulled out.
Listen, man, you either spend time
showing a little shoulder there.
Their products and the amount of what men do you put right on the front of your face, or you can go outside and actually talk to people that aren't looking like they just came out of a high school drama where they had 15 different pride stickers on their backpack and are incredibly depressed and probably about to
I think you're just rambling now.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's not fooling anyone about his masculinity with that beard, is he? I agree with the Orc Child, lumberjack gnome, because like I said earlier, a guy reminds me kind of like a garden gnome.
Yeah.
It's like a lumberjack gnome. He's gonna hi ho all the way to chop down the maple trees. All right. Okay, so charisma score was replaced by a beauty score in Dragon Magazine as like a potential homebrew. Do you guys remember anything about this?
Yeah. I remember that video with Daddy Rolled a 1.
Yeah.
It's true. Go ahead, Sonny.
Pretty realistic. Let's be honest. You can be an incredibly introverted woman, but if you're attractive, people are still going to talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're going to act like, wow, that's nuts. I can't believe it. But like, absolutely, like that's the difference between men and women. Men need charisma in order to, affect people. Women don't necessarily need to be charismatic charismatic at all. They can be, you know, they can have the personality of a rock, but if they have a lot of physical beauty, then, you know, they're going to get attention. They're going to be persuasive. They're going to be able to, you know, basically get a lot of things that they would like to have that they otherwise wouldn't have available to them. So
allowed for the opportunity to do something incredibly progressive. You can play as an ugly woman.
Well, we're going to get into that too. Oh, we got Warplane. He says, I dislike how a lot of these D&D tubers like Ginny D and D&D Shorts, aka Lumberjack Gnome, who tear down the walls of the foundation of the game because of the radical ideology they follow demands it. Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's really irksome. You know, it's like, you know, you have this game because of these people that you're tearing down, right? And it's super disrespectful, and it's dumb because like they're putting their ideology, and comparing it head on with the ideology of people like, you know, just Gary Gygax, normal guy, Dave Arneson, whatever, normal. They want to put that and compare it 1-to-1. You know, the guys that think that girls can be boys and, you know, hey, what's your pronouns? Those people are going to compare, you know, their views to those views. So that I find that funny. All right, let's go ahead and see what they say.
Yeah, so I know about this one. I know that this is real, unless you're trying to trick me by like, oh, it's in 1E. You said it was 1E, but it's in AD&D or something. But I do know about this one.
Yeah, 1E is AD&D. So this is a YouTuber who makes her living on Dungeons and Dragons, and she doesn't get that. She doesn't understand that. That's interesting.
Crazy.
Oh, man, it's really lucky that everyone who watches her is too distracted because they're watching with one hand.
Oh, son, come on. This is a family show. Family show. All right.
Gosh, darn.
I know about this one and I read up on it because it's wild to me. First of all, because it basically reduces a woman's charisma to her looks. There's no way a woman could be charismatic in any other way. But also, it implies that men can't be beautiful, which is so sad.
Yeah, it is true. You're right. This is
okay. So some of the things she said there, it implies that women can't be charismatic. No, I don't think so. What it's doing is it is making it's acknowledging the reality that women don't have to be charismatic. It absolutely doesn't really matter as far as like the level of power that they have, right? Because if they have that beauty score, and like you just think about normal life, everyday life, if a woman is beautiful, that is going to make her very desirable right away. She doesn't have to be funny. She doesn't have to have great jokes. You know, none of that. No one's going to care about that. She doesn't have to be like, you know, say anything impressive or have cool stories or anything like that. You know, none of that is necessary for her to like get a lot of male attention, right? That's just the way the dynamics are, right? Because the men are focused on the looks, and the women are focused on the potential of the men for, you know, resources and, you know, lifestyle, things like that. So they look at things like charisma, like, can this guy lead? Is this guy smart? Can he get things done? That sort of thing. Whereas like the men looking at the women, they're not looking at her like, wow, can she take care of me? Can she, you know, can she get things done for me? You know, things like that. They don't really care about that so much. Right. So yeah, it's just acknowledging like the difference in the sexes, what they're looking for in each other, right?
And men can't be beautiful, proven by Josh.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, men are different creatures than women, right? They're not objects of beauty like women are, right? You take a look at like, you can put a woman in like beautiful gown, or, you know, some kind of Victoria's Secret lingerie, or some kind of beautiful outfit, she's going to look gorgeous, right? But if you put a man in that outfit, it looks ridiculous, right? It it looks silly, right? And it's laughable, right? So men are not beauty objects like women are. That's not their strength. Their strength lies elsewhere, but women's strength does lie in their beauty, right? So that's a very important factor for them. Let's see what Orc Child. Well, she can take care of you. Eat poisoned food. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, does she cook is certainly a consideration, isn't it, Josh?
How much hair dye Ginny D put in her hair? I wouldn't be surprised when she's cooking, some of it falls in and her husband gets cancer.
Well, yeah, I don't imagine she's very domestic, unfortunately.
It's right.
Oops.
So all women's charisma-based abilities are dictated by their beauty score specifically. But yeah, as a flip side, it also means that men can't be hot, which we know is not true.
Absolutely not true.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Faceless. That's when you read too much into the rules and the language of the rules.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily saying that men can't be really good looking, or that women don't care if they're good looking or not. Of course they do. But the primary things that they're looking for is beauty on the women's side and capability on the men's side, right? So if he's capable and good looking, then awesome. But
sounds,
I'm sure that's what the women are going for. But if they're good looking and not capable, that's not the stuff for a lasting relationship for a woman, right? So that's going to be a short-term interest for her. So she wants the capability, she wants the resources, things like that. All right.
Well, this kind of relates to the next one, actually. So witches, spellcasting women of a sufficient level are called witches. Witches with a beauty score of 5 or below who successfully seduce a man will, instead of actually seducing him, scare him to death. True or false?
Oh,
True?
well, I mean,
Because that's funny.
let's be honest. Are witches not scary?
Yeah, well, Halloween, yeah, they're kind of supposed to be, huh?
Listen, there are two types of witches. There are the witches from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and there are witches from The Wicked Witch of the Witch.
Which are with Fruit Wash.
Well, you know what? Keep in mind that this beauty score, as it was first proposed by Len Kafka, I think it was, in Dragon Magazine, it was supposed to be on a score of 1 to 20. So you would need to take that 5 and divide it by 2 to get a meaningful 1 out of 10 score, right? And if you have a beauty score, it's got to be 1 to 10. Everyone uses that scale, 1 to 10, for beauty for women, right? We've all done that, and everyone just thinks of it in those terms. So that's I think my biggest beef with the beauty score thing is why is it out of 20? It should be out of 10.
No, it's really, really overpowered if you think about it. You can
say again, buddy.
It's really overpowered if you think about it. Any unattractive female magic user can just instant kill a dude
with her terrible, her scariness. That is.
Wait, is this actually true though?
That's something you can abuse, man. That's bad game design, but it's not bad game design in the dated sense. It's just bad game design.
Yeah, well, I think he's going to say that it is true, if I remember right. I kind of agree. I'm not sure that this part is really the best rule. Although, if you're considering that, a 5 and lower is hideous, then maybe, but scared to death, like I don't know about that. Like maybe like treat it like the fear spell or something like that. That might work, but I don't know.
Like,
all right, let's see.
Said needs to
Oh
be
my god, I hope that's true. Can we bring that back?
I agree. This is true, and this is
It
the
is
best.
true?
This is my favorite one. Yeah. It's like if your Riz game is aggressive enough, men will kill themselves when you try to talk to them.
I was just gonna say this like takes the misogyny and wraps it all the way back around almost into like a power fantasy where you're like,
Ow.
you can literally make men kill themselves with the way that you look and act.
Okay, so I heard your feedback about one.
like,
All right, so
Well, I mean, I guess since they do play 5e, they want all the ways to cheese out the game, make it easier.
Mhm.
But also, why would you just want people to kill themselves?
yeah, weird. Yeah, well, Orc Child is saying, yeah, this kind of thing, like 5 below represents a power, right? So this actually gives the women like a game advantage, right? And of course, if you had an exceptionally high beauty score, that would give you another type of advantage as well, kind of like a charm. I think it was charm male or something like that. It was the power. It's kind of like charm person, but it's specific to men. But yeah, and he's right. He says it needs to be limited by the DM, right? Because I think like that, like we were saying, like, scare someone to death on sight, like that's as powerful as like a Medusa, basically.
Oh yeah, like look at
thrown
them.
to stone. Yeah. Ginny D, the dime store psychologist from Orc Child. Yeah, I know. All right, let's see what they say next.
Free cactus dice set. Take your
This
game to the
advertisement.
ultimate level with pillars.
Through that.
Or a young boy or a young girl.
Oh. I kind of feel like this one's false because when I was looking up gendered ability scores, I feel like strength was the one that I saw as being different between the genders. But maybe I'm...
Yeah, well, it certainly makes sense that strength would be different between the genders because, like, any person looking at men and women objectively would have to conclude that men are stronger and women don't attain to the strength of the average man. Not on average, not even close. Right.
Yeah.
So I think having a cap at 14 on the women's strength is actually a great idea, counterbalanced with a beauty score where they charm men or scare them to death, like if they're hideous.
Yeah, they can give them a heart attack 2 ways.
Yeah, I think the scare to death is a little too much. Maybe like do like what's the equivalent of like a fear spell, right? Because if you can charm male on one side of the spectrum, then maybe fear spell on the ugly side of the spectrum to give them that score. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that could actually be really helpful. That could really make it pretty advantageous in many cases to play a woman character, even though their strength would not be on par with the women or the men in the game, right? So as far as wisdom score here, I don't really remember what the deal is here or if it's accurate what they're saying about what Len Kafka said, or maybe they're sourcing other rules. But we do know that women think differently than men. So it's not that they're like dumb or anything. It's just that they're very emotional. So I don't know how that might factor into wisdom. Would that make their wisdom greater? Would that make their wisdom less? I'm not really sure. I haven't thought about that too much. But to say that like there aren't any differences between the men and the women in these basic attributes is a complete fallacy. I know that's how we play the game now, where like, we just roll 3d6 and whether you're a man or woman makes no difference, and that's fine. But like, to make fun of these rules as though there's inherently something wrong with them because, oh my gosh, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, no, it does make sense. It actually really does. These rules are actually kind of based a lot in reality, and they make some pretty good sense, and they could make some interesting game mechanics too. But you have to, if you put yourself in these guys' mindset, then there's no difference between men and women. We're not supposed to see any kind of difference between them, and certainly don't say it out loud or acknowledge that no, that would be politically incorrect and completely verboten. So
yeah. I was about to make the comparison of like men and women are different, because if I punch D&D shorts in the face, it would affect him a lot less than it would affect Ginny D. I then realized I was stupid. Both built like twigs. I feel as if my fist was punching a pillow as their skull immediately shatters in on itself.
Well, as tempting as it might be to, a punch D&D shorts guy,
but he is
that might be like punching a little kid. So it's not
not really fulfilling, man.
I mean, yeah, well, I mean, like watching him sometimes, I do kind of think like, oh my gosh, like, can someone just punch this guy? Because like it's just aggravating. But not that I'm advocating any violence towards him. I just find him a little bit. I don't know, his mannerisms grind my gears. But yeah, that's funny.
The thing I think about the wisdom is like, it reminds me of when, I don't know, maybe it was a state, I just saw it in the news or something, that they kicked out like trans women from real women's chess tournaments. And that reminded me of it. And like the strength, like they don't do that with sports though. Did I make any sense?
Not really.
Like intelligence with men and women are like one and the same. Even if they think differently, they still will conclude to the same point.
Yeah, I think that men and women's intelligence is pretty close on average. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of very intelligent women. There's along with the men. I do think that the men make it into the genius levels a little bit more than the women. But other than that, like, no, that's absolutely, they're very much on par. And women can be very capable with different things. Of course, we've seen that. But yeah, the strength thing is a clear limitation. Like there's no getting around it. It's absolutely biological and observable. And it's like, yeah, no, they're just not as strong. And yeah, when you have these biological men, these dudes competing against girls, they always win. They win all the time, right? So, and they set new records, smash the records, and when
I might,
they were just run of the mill average.
Honestly, I think that the reason they kicked trans women out of the women's chess is because before the match, the dude would threaten the girl with physical violence if they didn't throw.
They would?
I'm just making a joke, Abby.
Oh.
Because okay. All right. Well, lost on all of us. Yeah, well, Orcchild says, it's still just a game, and the difference is served to make a game interesting. Yeah, I agree. Like, I think like throwing this into the game could make it interesting. And I just feel like all fun role play scenarios you could have with a woman using her beauty score in the mix. You know what I mean? Using that to help the party to, you know what I mean? To make things happen. I could totally see that. Because like we see in real life, like women they use their feminine wiles to their advantage routinely. This is an everyday experience. And these guys are going to talk like, oh, that's silly to think that, but no, that's exact. Women do that all the time, every day. And if you deny that, then you're just denying reality. Right. So, to transfer that into the game context seems like a pretty natural thing to do. And if you put a game mechanic around it where they actually have like a mechanism where they can operate on that within the game, then it could make it, pretty interesting, I think. So, all right, let's play and see what they say.
I'm wrong.
Yeah. Do you think it's possible? Do you think it's possible they could give an adult woman a lower base wisdom score than a girl, like a child girl?
That's so weird. I mean, I guess it is possible because anything's possible and people do stupid things all the time, but it seems unlikely. I also feel like if you're going to be sexist, you're going to be just as sexist to young women as you are to older ones. Like in wisdom, especially. Yeah. Like if it was saying, oh, young women have a higher beauty score, then I'd be.
All right. So she talks about sexist. So they're taking for granted that this is sexism, I'm not sure how they or you should define sexism, but to me, it's like acknowledging differences between men and women is not like a prejudice or, like that. It's just accounting for reality, right? We're not trying to be sexist. We're just acknowledging what our eyes can see, right? Sorry, like women aren't as strong. I mean, women are more emotional.
I'll pull an even better example than what I originally was going to say. If I punched Abby square across in the face,
okay,
it would have more effect than if I punched you square across in the face.
Also, that may contribute to I'm 14 and Dad is older.
If I punched Mom
again.
Like if you punch Mom, you wouldn't be standing. Yes. You wouldn't be standing any longer. Yeah, because GM Dad would take care of business.
If I punched Mom, I would turn into like the prop from the Predator, where they're hanging down from the tree by their ankles, skinned.
Yeah, you'd be done. All right. Now, Orcchild says, but if I play the female character, is it sexism? Oh, interesting question. So you can, if you cross the streams like that, are we crossing into sexism and, because you're not actually a woman? And gosh, these people, they're so to stay within their good side. You're always walking on eggshells. You know what I mean? It's always thin ice and it's cracking. You're always in fear. That's the way it was with Marx and his associates. Like they were always afraid of him all the time. And it's the same, this mentality that he has, poisoned our society with, puts people in that same spot. And so they're living in this state of like fear of saying the wrong thing, being, appearing to be, not on board with whatever the cause is.
Be like, yeah, sounds about right for the way that these people think. But
yeah, so that part I really detested, the way these people think, the way that she said that, how she like takes like, just normal people from the 70s and makes them this big other, these people, turns them into like monstrous, basically, is what she's trying to say. It's like, you know what? Blue hair, maybe you can go take a long walk off a short pier, because
that's teal.
Shut up.
That's teal.
Okay.
I'm going to be that guy. That's teal hair.
Stop.
Oh. It's close enough to blue hair, and what blue hair is. It's blue hair is a red flag.
For any female action protagonist before 2012 with Jennifer Lawrence in the Hunger Games, there was also Alien, sure there was. 1977.
Yeah.
There are plenty of examples of strong women from the past. They're just strong differently than men, and that's fine.
Yeah, and it's just it makes me angry, because like she's trying to say that like the people who were our fathers or grandfathers were just horrible people, you know, terrible, because we aren't woke. They weren't woke commies like these idiots. That really grinds my gears, just the way that she said that. You know, who knows with these people? You know, it's like, yeah, well, I know with you people, and it's always abhorrent. The things that come from the political left.
No.
We got Bumblebee says, you're right. No one deserves to feel othered. People do what they have to survive. We should think negatively about people. We shouldn't think negatively about people in the past like that. Yeah, it's not fair, right? And like I say, like, they weren't monsters. They're just normal people, and society was more grounded in common sense back then. We weren't having all of these existential issues that we have today, where we can't even define gender.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know about wisdom. I'm gonna say false.
You know what? You're right. This is false, but it's a bit of a trick question, because it is a real thing. It's just not from this set of rules. But you're right. In this set of rules, women are just down on strength. Everything else is the same. But this is from a third-party book called The City-State of the Invincible Overlord, which was released in the same year and was approved for use with D&D. But it is third-party, technically.
That's so weird. That also feels like one of the few things that historically most cultures have agreed on is like wise older women. Like that, it feels like once women stop being beautiful, the only thing we've got is being wise, being a wise old lady.
You can get the wise.
Well, I mean, a woman's greatest asset, and this is why women are obsessed with beauty, right? Because they know that their greatest asset on the marketplace of love is beauty, and how they perform in the marketplace of love determines in great measure how they're going to perform, how they're going to benefit materially, right? So they are absolutely, if they don't have that beauty, it is a very, very big problem for them. So they spend all this money trying to improve their looks all the time. They're always doing their hair. They're always doing this and that. Why? Why do they do that? Is it because they just are nitpicky? No, it's because they know that how they look is such a huge importance to them, that it really, they spend a lot of time on it. Just like, men know that if they don't come to the table with, some good resources and stuff like that, they're going to look deficient, and they're not going to be able to find the mate that they really want. So, he says, Orkchild says, I've seen more unwise women of all age groups. Yeah. And then these people believe there's no Epstein list. Yeah. They probably believe Epstein killed himself in that jail cell. All right.
As they take it away from you. Yeah. I don't really know what they're going for, but yeah, it's a thing. Very interesting. Okay, we'll do a simpler one. What do you reckon about this? Women are better thieves than men. True or false?
Ooh.
What's your guys' thoughts on this one? Honestly, for me personally, I'd say true, because first of all, usually they're, well, not nowadays, but usually they're lighter weight than men, and so they could have quieter footsteps and stuff.
More flexible.
Yeah. A little maybe agile.
Yes.
That's because women steal hearts or Orkchild. Yeah. Yeah, they do that. They certainly do.
Let's also not forget that Catwoman from DC Comics.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of a trope for incredibly well-skilled female thieves.
I thought you were talking. At first, I thought you were talking about that fat Catwoman rendition from like D&D 2024 art. We didn't go over that one in that video with Double D, but yeah, that's one. That's She looks like Catwoman, but she's like 300 pounds.
Oh,
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I certainly like the thief strategy between men and women would have differences. You know what I mean? Just because there are differences, I think the thief women would use the feminine wiles, as use them for all they're worth, right? And the men, on the other hand, they can rely a little bit more on some brute strength and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see.
Updated.
Better
I
thieves.
feel like I could make the argument for why somebody might think that. But I know that thief is like such a sort of iconic, like D&D character, archetype that it.
Yeah, Warplane says true. Men take and women tempt. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, we don't need to make an argument for that. We can, all of us, draw on common experience and just know axiomatically that is true. We all experience it. So now, women are better thieves than men. I don't know. I guess the flaw in this question is what makes a better thief, right? What is better as a thief? It's not clear. So I think the question itself, isn't that great. But
Yeah.
Orc Child says iconic, meaning Ginny D must include women in iconic. Yeah, that kind of reminds me of that Black Iron Man movie or TV show or whatever that came out and totally bombed. And I think she said, I want to be iconic. And that was like her whole thing. It's like she didn't want to like save the world or anything. She just wanted to be iconic.
One works with the Marvel version of Satan.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a random nobody character, and that's how they introduced Mephisto.
who the heck is Mephisto?
He's a pretty popular villain from Marvel Comics.
Yeah, he's like a devil character.
Basically the devil.
All right, let's see.
It would shock me if they were like, oh, it should be a woman. Well, first of all, women tend to be physically smaller, so I could see leaning towards like, oh, it's easier to be sneaky, But the sort of misogynist angle on it would be like, women are thieves who are out for money. It feels risky to keep saying false. I'm gonna say it's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. This is true, but not for the reason that you said. It's nothing to do with their size or dexterity. But high-level women thieves can cast spells. You don't have to have any levels in like a magic caster at all. If you're a high-level woman and a thief, you can cast magic where male thieves just can't. You do have to have a intelligence score of 12 or higher, except for the spell seduction. You can do that even if you're stupid, apparently.
Right.
But,
yeah, I don't know how I feel about thieves casting spells. I think that's kind of outside of the type of a thief for D&D personally.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mix those up too much. But I tell you what, though, like with going back to the idea of a beauty score, that is like casting a spell on a man. Like women I don't think they understand the power that beauty has over men. It is like casting a spell on them. Is absolutely very persuasive. It will drive them to do all kinds of things to try to, make that woman happy or all that kind of thing. That's why we get married. We make the sacrifice. We decide I'm going to give up my resources. I'm going to have babies with this woman, and I'm going to pay for them and everything. I'm going to do all that. Why would they do that? Why would they make that sacrifice? Why? It's only because like that spell is cast over them, that like they're like, I want this woman, you know what I mean? And then they'll do what otherwise would seem very much like absolutely illogical, like to give up all those resources and things, all their time and everything to take care of this woman. Let's see. Yeah, Orc Child says then every character can do spells. Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like there should be And that's kind of like a 5th edition situation where like, oh, everyone can do a spell, and it's just kind of takes away the specialness of having a magic user.
Yeah.
And I think some classes should just be non-spellcasting. You know what I mean? If you want a spellcaster, have a mage, have a cleric. That's it. That kind of thing.
Well, let's also take a moment to think of a scenario.
Bumblebee says, when I'm driving and I see an attractive person, I have to stop myself from crashing my car. Well, yeah, I mean, that's not at all out of the ordinary. It's the way that we're designed. Like God made us that way. Men, we're very, very susceptible to that. And that's the drive that we have to, basically link our lives and give of all our resources and everything to a woman, right? All right, let's move on. And sorry, you guys. What did you want to say? I felt like I cut you off a bunch of times.
Yeah, I wanted to take a little moment to think of a scenario. You're a thief character, both male and female, and you're trying to get past a guard guarding the door.
Just cast sleep if you're female.
No, what would be more useful? The dude attempting to seduce another dude in medieval times, or the woman?
Yeah, like I said, like there's a lot of role play situations that would become very interesting and very fun to do at the table for these types of situations. I can just foresee a lot of that going around with this beauty score thing and this charm male situation. Absolutely. I think that could actually be a really fun dynamic. Abigail, was there something you wanted to say?
I don't remember.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Well, if it comes up, let me know. I'll pause.
Yes. That makes sense.
But yeah, interesting. So women, like if you're optimizing back in the day, you want to play a thief. It is probably optimal to play a woman, which is very interesting. So you got that one right. Yeah, you went with your gut and you were right. Yeah, absolutely. On this, we're kind of in the spellcasting era now.
Okay.
I want to hit you with this one. Beautiful women get access to special spells that I'm putting this in air quotes here. Ordinary and quote unquote ugly women do not get access to.
I feel.
Why does that have to be in quotes? Ordinary and ugly. He's acting like there's no difference, to the objective observer between a beautiful woman and an ordinary woman and an ugly woman. It's as though like, oh, I don't know which is which. I have no idea. What? No, we could tell. People could tell. That's why there's a 1 to 10 scale of the beauty score.
Exactly.
Ahead,
yeah.
kids.
I mean, beauty is subjective, but like, there's obviously like a line that people can draw to see out.
It's not so subjective that there isn't consensus, because people we have the same general ideas about what makes beautiful features and things like that as a human race we can come to very overwhelming conclusions about what types of features are beautiful, what's average, and what is ugly.
And there's also just a clear understanding of physical attractiveness. I mean, there is a difference between Lizzo and a Kardashian.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Kardashians are pretty much plastic. So.
Yeah, but there's as much of a difference between Lizzo and a Kardashian as there would be between Adam Sandler and Henry Cavill. You don't really need to be attractive to be charismatic, but it's gonna help a lot. It's gonna be super easy to convince someone to do thing if you look like a supermodel.
Yeah.
There's a difference between a balding guy or a bald guy, with a beard who probably weighs 100 pounds talking about something. And there's about a healthy weight man talking about something.
There's a meme somewhere where it's like, you know, you talk to women about how good looking Lizzo is, and they're like, yeah. But then if you tell a woman she looks like Lizzo, she's like, huh? It's because they know deep down, right? Like, they know.
They're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, these things we can tell, right? So, you know, ordinary, ugly. It's like, no, come on. We don't need the quotes, the air quotes. Like, come on, man. Like, get real. All right.
I feel like that lines up with everything we've been talking about so far. And also it's so stupid because it's not like there's any sort of inherent, like you're deciding if your character is beautiful or not. It's just incentivizing you to describe your character as beautiful, to like pick beauty as a trait. It's such a stupid thing to optimize around. It's not like,
why
would you not?
You're a woman, it's the main thing you would optimize around, because if you take a look at how women behave, that's what they do. They're optimizing constantly around their beauty. It's the number one important thing. Go ahead, son.
Why would you not want to play an attractive character? You're playing D&D. You're going to be average at best. Let's be real here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here we're seeing their ideology come out. They're saying that, you know, beauty, like a woman's beauty is no more important to her than her physical strength or her, you know, her cunning or anything like that. When in actuality, and people treat it this way in real life, whether they realize it or not, women's beauty is at the top of their concern. That's just the way they act. That's the way men respond to them. So that's just, yeah. Orcchild says there seems to be more than enough stupid going around, Ginny. Oh yeah, nice one.
Whatever. But I think probably that's true.
Okay, I don't know if it'll affect your choice, but I will say you can't choose your scores in 1E. I think
so it's fully randomized.
Oh man, wouldn't that be awesome if we had a setup like that when we played D&D?
That's cool. That kind of looks like a seance, to be honest.
I know. Not to be sacrilegious, but that does look fun though.
Walks in on us and we're just like standing around a table, our hands are interlocked and we're just speaking in like dead Latin.
Yeah, as long as we're not interlocking hands and chanting, I'm, you know, but no, seriously, that does look fun. And I have thought about like kind of doing that where we like have the lights down and we actually play by candlelight just for like a certain effect, you know.
That would be so cool.
Yeah, I think it'd be awesome.
Also, if you had like, instead of like normal cups, you had like the tavern mugs.
Yeah, like yeah, exactly. That's a great idea.
If you copy down your entire manual into a large aged leather tome.
We'll probably do that. We have enough candles.
And then everyone is wearing different types of armor depending on what their character is.
Yeah, well, I do have a wizard's outfit. I've thought about wearing it on the channel sometimes, but I go kind of waffle back and forth because it's like I don't want people to think I'm a weirdo, but I do want to be fun. So I don't know. Maybe I'll think about it. But you know, when I was a kid, I saw on TV Monsters and Mazes, which was that Tom Hanks movie. You know, based on like kind of a false narrative of a story of what happened to a kid who liked Dungeons and Dragons.
They're like, I'm the DM master and you don't have enough points.
That's the one, yeah. And it was supposed to be a deterrent. Like kids were supposed to watch that and be like, oh my gosh, look what D&D does to you, you know, like, but actually watching them play, like the way they played with all like this candle stuff and everything, and they were like LARPing. I actually thought like, man, that looks like a lot of fun. I really wanted to play. It's like, I want to play that, you know, it looks fun. So anyway.
trying to get kids away from the thing.
Yeah.
Your scores in 1E. I think.
So it's fully randomized.
Yeah, so it's a random beauty score between 2 and 20 is what a female character has using these.
And once again, it should be from 1 to 10. That's your beauty scale. That's the scale we all use.
Yeah, and if you call yourself Gorlock, you immediately become a 10, but you gain 10 times in your weight.
Oh, nobody else.
It's a joke, Abby.
I know.
It's a
Stop.
It's a meme.
So B Bumble says it backfires. The more engagement you give to something, the more it normalizes it. Yeah, it's kind of the Streisand effect too, right? Like Barbara Streisand famously was trying to, I guess, get people's attention off of the situation going on in her house or backyard or something like that. And the more she tried to like get people to not notice, the more eyes were on the whole thing, right? And so yeah, I think that's kind of the effect that
They were not.
Jesus and Monsters had. It didn't deter people. It just made it look fun.
Yeah.
And it's because no one was like, yeah, I'm going to end up like the Tom Hanks character for sure. It was like, no, I don't think that'll happen. All right.
These character creation. So you can't just choose to be beautiful. You're kind of given what you get in 1E.
I see. I didn't realize, because now we get to like, even if we roll scores, we get to pick where we put them. I didn't realize that was not true in earlier D&D. Yeah, I guess that makes.
She doesn't know anything about D&D really, like except for maybe like current 5th edition. That's all she knows. It's a little bit silly because it's like you do make your whole living on this. And she has like so little interest in it as an actual hobby that she doesn't know basic stuff like that. It really is silly.
If you're
working a whole career and not knowing how to do your job.
Abby, this would be like if you made it an entire career off of things I like.
What do you like?
Exactly. Well, I mean, at least the D&D shorts guy dresses like a gnome, garden gnome, you know?
Yeah.
Beard and little hat.
He looks the part.
And at least he's as tall as a gnome.
Yeah.
Slightly more sense, at least, in that it's not just incentivizing you to decide to play a beautiful character. It's like you're just randomly getting a bonus or not. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm leaning towards still thinking that it's true just because. But you also said that the seduction spell, if you're ugly, can kill people. And seduction seems like one of those spells that would be gated to a higher beauty score if there were spells gated to a higher beauty score.
Yeah, I don't think they should call it seduction if it's on the lower end, you know.
Yeah.
Call it something else. Seduction's going to be for the higher end. There's a point there.
Terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, frightening.
Frightening.
So maybe it's false. I'm going to say false. Final answer.
Yeah, you got it. It's false. Yeah, for the exact reason that you said. Absolutely. You don't get different spells. You don't get extra spells, but the spells you cast do different things depending on how beautiful you are. Good job. Like I haven't been counting, but I feel like you've got almost all of these correct. Pretty much all of them. So you're doing really well. There's only a couple left.
I probably get like half points on some. I do feel like you kind of led me to the right answer on this one by being like, if it changes your answer, here's some information. And then I
just wanted to make sure you said something. You were like, oh yeah, because you can just choose to be beautiful. But yeah, in the earlier rules, it's a lot more like fun. It's very much like, no, you play what you're given.
I feel like if you stripped all of the like weird, dated, like sexist and racist shit out of these earlier editions, it could be fun to play a game where like everything's fully randomized and you just have to deal with what you get. Like,
okay, all right, here it is, right? Here it is. Where I feel like if you took all of the horrible, terrible things out of D&D, oh, sorry, that's a little Greta there. She's getting upset right now. I feel if you took all those things out of D&D, then it could be fun, you know? And it's yeah, okay.
Oh man, let's take my favorite form of media and let's remove the stakes. Wow.
And here she's calling she's just calling these things hateful, bigoted, racist, sexist, and it's none of those things. It's all of that is in their heads, you know. All of that is part of this critical race theory garbage. existing in their mind, it comes from the same place in their brain that tells them, oh, yeah, this boy is now a girl. Oh, don't you know? Like that's coming from the same recess in their brain that, and all of these things, which are totally fine and normal and just, part of D&D in old school. Ew. That's racist, sexist, degenerate, all this stuff. Terrible, like, it's like, nah, maybe you just need to relax. Maybe you just need to, take a chill pill, wokey, because it's like, this is not really a big deal. I see that it's a big deal to a woke retard like you, but like for normal people, it's like, yeah. So maybe you ought to realize that, you're not normal. And, if you have a problem with that kind of thing, it's because, you're the problem. But, yeah, I just, very, very distasteful. I find that very distasteful that she talks like that the game itself was horrible, like morally repugnant. And the people who created it, morally repugnant. Once again, get lost, blue hair.
Like,
just
seriously.
Despicable.
Teal hair.
Oh, seriously though, because isn't she supposed to be a creator that makes her whole living off of this? And here she is, like, talking it down and, like, saying, oh, it could be fun. Like, she's never played it before.
Yeah, and Bee Bumble says, and you can tell she's getting amped up about it because she goes into cursing, making a statement of how she feels rather than what she thinks, right? So absolutely. So, like, she really, really hates what D&D is and what it came from, right? And I guess it's acceptable now that we're taking the D&D brand and making it totally gay and everything, and completely milquetoast and just a big cosplay. But when it back in the days when it was fun and it was like, it was cool, and like there was like a dungeon environment that you were trying to survive in and all that stuff, and there was all this intrigue and everything wrapped up in that. That was horrible. What horrible people came up with that?
Yeah.
Oh no, there's conflict in my D&D game.
What do you think, Abigail? What do you think, sweetie?
Yeah. And I think what Bee Bumble or Bumblebee said was, like, really true. Like, what she thinks rather than what she feels.
Yeah. Well, and Orcchild just said she's in lockstep with the limited intelligence over at WotC. Yeah, they. I think they all rolled 3s on their intelligence score. They're so dumb, and what they've done with the game, they've absolutely destroyed the brand, doing the dumbest things ever. And she's a contributor to that, like taking D&D and basically ruining it, turning it into slop. And yeah, and then like being on her high horse about it, like, oh yeah, this is great D&D now. It's like, no, you have terrible taste. Sorry. The market decides that your taste is terrible because D&D 2024 basically made in her image and, the image of the weirdos at WotC, it was a complete failure financially, right? So, all right, let's see.
I think there's appeal to that in some ways, especially if you're playing like a sort of meat grindery game where like death is more common and you're just trying to like make it to the end. And then maybe when you roll up a new character, maybe you'll get lucky and it'll be better than the last one that you had. Like I could see the fun of that. But of course, randomizing your...
Really? Even without like cosplaying? Wow. Yeah. So I can see how that would be fun. It's like, yeah, that is how the game is fun, and doing, your weird LARPing as like a furry or whatever. That's weird.
That's how the game was supposed to be played.
All righty.
beauty score for female characters only that I don't think is nearly as fun.
Get this one. This is
She doesn't think that's nearly as fun. That's because you don't have any vision, Jenny D. Like, yeah, you can't see the things that we've been discussing in this live stream because you're probably dumb, and you don't have any idea about game design or anything like that. You're a cosplayer online, and that's basically you're an insufferable influencer. Basically, is what you are. Yeah, but like for all the reasons that we've discussed, the beauty score actually is kind of a cool idea.
These are the type of people who put the one of many number on their angry comments on Twitter. They basically rewrite the Bible with how many pages of just slop.
Yeah, and then kind of go on tirades and stuff like that. Colonialism, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And it's like, shut up. Come on. All right.
Potentially a cool one. If a male cleric gets a 7 or below to resist a woman's seduction, they have sex, and the cleric loses their celibacy and all perks associated with being celibate.
You know, if you're...
All right, so I'm a little conflicted about this one just because I run family games, but I really like this dynamic because this is like, this puts a lot of stakes and danger on a cleric, because if they don't resist temptation, you know, they can lose all their abilities, right? You know, because they've broken their vows with God, you know. So I actually think this is kind of a cool dynamic to throw into the game. Now it should sure make things pretty dicey for the cleric. I think he would have to make it a little easier for the cleric to like successfully make that roll. You know what I mean? Like if he has some kind of if his wisdom is higher or something like that, he has bonus against it. But it's kind of, you know, it's a great dynamic to have in the game, considering what the role of a cleric is and the source of his power and, you know, threats to it and things like that. I think it's cool. B Bumble says it's hard to really explain that feeling of nostalgia and creativity from all the different editions going back generations to people who won't understand it. Yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, these people, they just have no concept of you know, what that early D&D was like. And so I think they kind of build this silly caricature in their head of what it must have been like to play back then and everything. And, you know, what the people were like who were playing back then. And, you know, and then they're just influenced by this commie, like 2024 D&D culture. And they have no idea, like, that sense of wonder and nostalgia that we got to experience thumbing through those old AD&D books, you know. And that's why we love the game now, you know, because we remember that and how fun that looked and like how much fun it was to play. And that's why I'm trying to share that with my family, you know. I'm trying to have my kids experience that because I want them to have those same experiences. And hopefully you guys are kind of catching that sense of enjoyment and wonder yourselves. What do you think?
I definitely am.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, because I would love for it to keep on being a family tradition, you know, for as long as I'm alive. So, all right. Well, let's see. Let's keep going here.
Making stuff up, you're doing such a good job making it sound like it's part of the real rules. I could absolutely see that being true, because there is such a weird obsession with like imagining your characters being forced to have sex in like early D&D. It does feel like there's a lot of, you know what I mean? Like that's such a weird thing to do.
No, you're right. You're right. Like I haven't thought about it, but you're right. It is like a theme.
Not really. I mean, they're not really. They're being a little bit disingenuous here because they're not talking about this. This is seduction. It's not rape, right? Well, maybe I can't say that. It's not SA. So this is seduction. So it's a totally different it's a totally different thing. In kind, you know what I mean? It's a totally different category. So like they're trying to make it look like it's something that it isn't. But like, you know, it's one thing to yield to temptation and, you know, do something you shouldn't have done. And your character did that foolishly because they rolled bad. That's not the same thing as what they're trying to say this is like, you know. Even though like myself, I think that we're way too oversensitive about the whole topic of SA and even slavery in the game. I think that, you know, like it's not like it's happening to you in real life, you know, but if you and I would only incorporate it in there as like, you know, something that orcs are doing or have done or something like that. And I wouldn't like dwell on it or anything. But
yeah, it's like a salt that you need to add to your 5-course meal.
It's one of the great evils of the world, you know, like whenever there has been you know, war parties and stuff like that, they would go in and they would do that, and it was like a horrible desecration, as it was part of the conquering process, you know, and it just it makes for a very crying evil to fight against, you know, because if that happened and now you've got these like orcs that are responsible, now your party has an evil to fight against, you know. So that's I think if you look at it in those terms, but like the whole thing and with YouTube and everything, it's so oversensitive that you can't even like talk about that or say the word or whatever. It's pretty weird how it's become that taboo of a subject. It's like you can't talk about this evil thing. You can't fight against this evil thing because we can't even say its name. It's Voldemort. You cannot say it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Will not be named.
Yeah. And then yeah, Orkchild says, yes, us orcs are just misunderstood. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. They're all good guys, you see, the orcs.
It's so specific that makes me worry that it's false, but
well, and one other thing, like they're talking about how like the D&D creators and the players and things like that were like consumed with this idea of like, you know, sex in the game. I don't think that's true at all. There was some kind of element of that in sexiness with some monsters and things like that, like a succubus, but like these are the people in modern day, these are the people that are totally unhinged when it comes to sexual practices. Like these people, they're having like polyamory and all kinds of weird stuff, and they're never getting married. They're all having you know, sex outside of marriage relationships. They don't care about any of that. And they're having, you know, relationships that are unnatural. These, you know, they're the ones that are absolutely obsessed with that stuff. You know, not like the people in old-fashioned days, our fathers, our grandfathers, who, you know, were just playing this fun game. You know, it wasn't necessarily, you know, consuming their lives, not like it does these people.
They're the ones literally telling 5-year-olds to like, hey, say who they're attracted to, like
Yeah.
what stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a little kid in school. Yeah, what's your sexual preference? And it's like, what? Why are we going there? Like,
I don't think
weird.
I don't think they could even pronounce the word.
They definitely did, but
I've got some comments here. Warplane says, if I were the devil, I'd make good into evil and evil into good. Absolutely. That's a great comment, Warplane. You certainly would if you were him, and that's exactly what he has been doing. Good traditional things that have been the bulwark of our civilization, those things are seen as bad. Those things are seen as, limiting or, bigoted and, all kinds of, horrendous things, epithets thrown on these things that have long been the foundation and bulwark of a great society. So orcs are polyamorous. Orc child. And be humble. Or be bumble. Sorry, I read it as be humble for a sec. WotC has been pushing to try to create its own culture by forcing it down people's throats, rather than listening to the people who actually want to play a game and want to share the joy and escape. Yeah, absolutely. And like the whole X card thing, like that goes into like sexual fantasy stuff, that world. That's where that comes from. It's twisted. And so now they've enshrined that as like a core part of the game, like it's in the rule book.
It's also cowardly. If you have a problem with your game, talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Abigail, do you know what the X card thing is?
Is that when like someone's non-binary or something?
No, that's when it's like if something comes up, some subject or something comes up in the game that makes you uncomfortable, then you throw up your X. And you're like, I can't, no, stop. No, we're not doing that. This makes me feel uncomfortable. So yeah, it is a cowardice. It's like, well, first of all, if you're playing with someone who's like going into like really weird, inappropriate territory, then don't come back to their game. Leave the table and don't come back. So don't play with people that you would have to do that with in the first place. And secondly, it's like, look, this is a game. If we can't talk about like a game with scary elements like spiders, which some people will throw up X cards for, or certain topics that, about evil in the world and stuff like that. You must be such a delicate flower. Like you must turn on the TV and then like cry in the fetal position or something, like, because like you're gonna see things that are gonna freak you out. Like, come on, like it's silly. It's a way to neuter the game. Actually, it is very intentional thing. I feel a communistic way to basically take elements out of the game that might promote any kind of strength and masculinity and courage against evil. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If these liberals ever tried to get through one session of the adventure module I'm cooking up, they'd throw the X card up like within 5 seconds of starting the dungeon.
Yeah, well, we'll have to keep working on that, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe I should start churning out some drawings for it.
Yeah.
All right, let's.
46 pages waiting for you.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. I need to invent some time in my schedule. All right, let's keep going.
You don't need sleep.
But it would make I do think that all of the pieces of that make sense. Like it would make sense that if you played a cleric, you'd have to be celibate, but then there would be like, oh no, it's a trap. You're going to be uncelibate if this woman seduces you. Like I could see all of that.
Why is it so funny? I don't know. I thought it was great game dynamic, Maybe it's because these people don't believe in any kind of celibacy in any circumstance, Yeah. Just think like, any kind of religious rule around sexual behavior is, it's so funny. But it's like, yeah, well, your ilk, people like you, like weird scumbag people like yourselves, are, taking what was once a glorious civilization and rotting it from the inside out, rotting its core apart. And it is having devastating effects across our entire society. So yeah, religion and sex. It's like, yeah, thanks, people like you. You're poison to culture. You are poison to society. All right,
making sense. If you fail your save and then I think I have to go with false. I hope it's false.
It's true, Ginny.
Orc Child says Ginny's married to a guy. Yeah, well, that's good. I bet that she didn't care to save herself for marriage, though. And if someone said that was a good idea, she probably would have laughed at that. That's my thinking. I think that would be. Let's see. You would think that people. This is B Bumble. You would think that people would have better understanding of celibacy and cultural practices these days. Yeah, it really is too bad.
Yeah, I wonder how many close calls with STDs they've had.
Yeah. All right.
No,
it's true.
No, that's so bad.
Why is it bad? That's so bad? Oh, because it would be like, acknowledging religious vows and stuff like that.
Oh no, it's a oh no, I'm terrified. Oh no, my character experience a consequence. Oh no.
I think this would be a really appropriate game dynamic. Actually, I think it would be very, very good. But they're saying like this is completely unconscionable, and it's she hasn't adequately explained what's so bad about it. Like they're clutching their pearls. That's what this entire video is, just a whole big pearl clutching experience with these leftoids. But they're not really able to explain rationally what's so bad about it. All they do is point their finger and laugh, but they're not really able to articulate what the problem is. Like, what's the problem? All right.
There is a sort of power dynamic in like having a body so good that a guy forgets how to cast Revivify. Is like.
Yeah, we need, what we need to do? We need to take these rules and rework them into a supplement that's about like weaponized sexuality for female characters. They say so much about how these game designers thought about men and women. Like, I think they say a lot about how they were thinking about like the way that the sexes interact.
So yeah.
Okay. So she's playing with her blinders on, like, oh yeah, I don't see how interactions between men and women are anything like that. And it's like, are you serious? Like, you are clearly lying, because these types of rules, like the reason they were made up in the first place is because it mirrored reality, right? We actually depart from reality when we give women an equal strength score to men. And, we don't even talk about their beauty and don't give them a beauty score, like as though that makes no difference in the game whatsoever in social interaction. That's a departure from reality. So, she is like totally incredulous that like these game designers would think this way about women, and it's like, and men's interactions. And it's like, well, where have you been living? In a cave? Have you you've been living in a barn your whole life? Are you telling me that you haven't seen this type of interaction between men and women? Like, you're either blind, Ginny D, or retarded and can't understand human interaction when you see it. Like, so, or you're lying. One of the three. I think it's the third one. I really do, because she's telling a story, a politically correct story that is lies, right? And we know it's lies. They know it's lies. You're not supposed to say that you know it's a lie. You're supposed to pretend to believe it, right?
Yeah.
Any thoughts from you guys?
I think she's crazy.
Don't be like her. Please don't. No. Raised by a poor orc child. I was raised a poor orc child, says, I already think her husband got a bad deal. Oh, did he ever? Oh, gosh. Well, can you imagine marrying, a blue hair like that? Oh, my goodness. Good luck. And then
I
he
think
says, well, because OD&D was problematic and caused colonialism. Yeah, of course, right? Funny.
the Japanese had the right idea with honor in World War II. I think that, if you're about to be surrender like that, maybe you should just Sudoku.
Yeah, well, I will say, like, Japanese culture, their kids are well behaved. Like, they respect their elders, and crime is low because they have a culture of honor and respect, and you don't play around with that. And there's a lot to be said about that. The fifth commandment, honor your father and your mother. That's the fifth commandment, right, guys? I think it is. Honor your father and your mother is taken in very seriously there, which is wonderful. No, I think it's the fourth commandment. I'm sorry. Okay, let's see. No other gods before me, no graven images. And then we've got take the Lord's name in vain. And then I think it's honor your father and your mother. I'm going to look really bad if I got that wrong. Just going off the top of my head. All right.
It says a lot about the 1970s, just generally. And like, I mean, these people were born in the 1930s,
Right.
So it's like it is a real insight into that. There is one final question here. I want to hit you on a true or false.
I'm ready.
If a woman successfully charms a humanoid monster, such as a centaur or gargoyle, that monster will lay down its weapons, kidnap the woman, and carry her off to its lair. True or false?
I mean, I can totally see the sort of fantasy-like themes that would lead to that kind of rule. I don't know if I believe, though, like, why would it just be humanoid monsters? Because dragons, historically, carry maidens off to their lairs all the time in media. So I feel like
yeah, that's true. That's true.
The restriction of humanoid monsters feels like a bit of a strange one. I mean, I get the impulse, right? Oh, the humanoids are the ones that want to take a woman back to their lair and have a pretty girl around. But, like, I think...
what do you think, Ginny?
I think...
Okay, real quick. Sorry, you guys. I knew I was missing something. Fourth commandment is Sabbath day. Fifth commandment is honor your father and your mother. Sorry about that. Just checked in Exodus 20. Sorry, that was a silly mistake. Okay. So what do you guys think about this situation here? If a woman charms a humanoid monster, it will discard its weapon and kidnap her.
I mean,
that's pretty evident throughout mythology.
That's what happens in the movies.
Let's just the Greek mythology as a whole.
Zeus.
Yeah. I don't like the idea of her being kidnapped, but I do like the idea of her being able to persuade based on her beauty, and I think that would be a very useful mechanism in the game. Absolutely. And it's kind of like like the Incredible Hulk and what is it? Betty
Ross.
Betty what?
Betty Ross.
Betty Ross. Yeah. She was always able to calm the Hulk down because she could charm him with her beauty and her gentleness and all of that. So, there's definitely a lot to that. And we could find real world examples of that very, very easily. But B Bumble says, in Japan, they don't leave trash lying around. They work to find consensus, and everyone does their part to harmonize with society and respect the people around them. Yeah, they've got a lot of great things about their culture. So they there's a lot that we could admire about that. All right, let's see.
I think I have to say false. I have to say false.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's false.
Yeah.
It is also true.
Oh my god.
It is true.
Now, to be fair, I have no idea where he's getting these rules. I think he might tell us. It does sound a little strange, but
Yeah.
You know what I think is so fascinating about pretty much all of these rules is that even though they're obviously rooted in sexism, and a lot of them are disadvantages to play.
Rooted in sexism or rooted in reality?
Yeah.
Reality sexism? Because acknowledging differences between men and women is sexism. Is that what it is?
Listen, if you're trying to seduce a violent criminal, there's going to be a different reaction than seducing a random guy at the bar.
Yeah.
What do you seducing, Joel?
Yeah, it's just. Yeah, I find that her reaction, like it's like she's just labeling like anything that recognizes, acknowledges difference between men and women is that's sexist. It's like, no, that's realistic. Sorry, that's you don't like reality. You're an anti-realityist. Is what you guys are. These two fools that we're talking about online. This guy drinking out of his blue cup. These two people deny reality for a living. They basically they put blinders on and pretend that real life isn't real. It's this other way that is more socialist like, and that's real life. That's the way real life really is. Forget all the things that you can see with your eyes and hear with your ears. No, that's not true. Things are like this. Things are actually woke, like the woke way. That's the way things really are. It's like, no, you guys are lying. You are lying to yourself and you're lying to everybody else. And it's kind of pathetic because, you're one of the few people that can't see that. It's silly. Yeah. All right. Any thoughts from you guys?
I think these people don't know what they're talking about half the time, and them like being allowed to have a job that's a little crazy.
Well, the garden gnome's drinking his reality denial potion right now. He's imbibing it. You can see him. All right.
Playing a female character, but at the same time, they imagine women as so powerful. Like the idea that women can like seduce you into doing whatever they want, or that if they seduce you and they're too ugly, that they can literally kill you. Like the power associated with femininity in like a weird, like objectified way is so fascinating to me. It's not just like women are weak and useless.
What do you think about these rules?
There you go. There's the paradox. See, she said it out loud. She recognizes that the types of advantages that women have over men, as played out in these rules, provide a huge amount of advantage for female characters, and actually makes them very powerful in their own right. Not in the same way that men are powerful. No, it makes them very powerful over men in a different way than men are powerful. So, she's like, oh yeah. And she kind of, it's almost like she wasn't supposed to verbalize that realization, because actually these rules aren't sexist. These rules are, acknowledging differences. and they actually give unique, powers between the men and the women, which is a lot more like real life, because a man and a woman are not just completely interchangeable with each other in all of their different attributes, right? They have strengths and weaknesses between each other, right?
Yes.
So,
bad guys.
yeah. So yeah, Orkchild says, well, it's a game with magic, so why not? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the fact that these abilities, if we were to play these out in the game, it would actually provide like some great game dynamic, and it would provide a lot of advantages to women players. So it's not like it's trying to, discourage women from playing or something like that. It just makes it so they're not playing the way men are. So, for all of their laughter and everything, it actually turns out that, and she even admitted it, that, actually, this kind of, it shows that they considered femininity to have a lot of power, and it does. We've said that it has that over men in a very real way. It casts a spell over men. Go ahead, Sonny.
Man, I can't believe that different types of characters have different types of roles in my role-playing game. Preposterous.
Yeah. That's kind of true. Like the more time has gone on than 5e and 2024 D&D, it's kind of turned into like everyone's like a one-man band hero, and they can do everything by themselves. And it kind of, what do you need a party for other than, just spending time with other people or something? It's not like they're working with strengths and weaknesses between party members. Everyone's a hero that does everything. Everyone's casting spells and all that.
Everyone's stuff. Superman.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what these clowns say next.
It's like, would you play with them, or like, would you seriously consider writing? Is that something we could see from you, or like, would you want to do that? Could you see someone doing this, like making these but for the modern day?
I mean, I don't think I would do it, because to be honest, I already get enough comments that are mad at me about whatever perceived
in a game.
Watch your write a sentence.
Give you a break.
Feminist values they think my blue hair indicates on its own. Like I personally, I just, even though I might have fun doing it on my own time, I just am too friggin' tired to put that kind of thing out on the internet. Like, it would just be it would be the worst week. I think.
How is she even famous for this? Like, I've just been watching her this whole time, and I've just been like, what is it about her that, like, why do people care what she thinks? Yeah. You know what I think it might be? Her beauty score. Because she doesn't have any other talent, right?
Yeah.
That's the irony. She's like fairly not bad looking, and she does cosplay and stuff, and so she catches eyes. But she doesn't have any like talent beyond that. She doesn't have any great insight into the game. It's actually her beauty score that's carrying her weight. That's carrying her along, and she doesn't even see that. That's hilarious.
Even though she's best.
Was that Sonny?
No, she's a 6 at best.
Yeah. All righty.
Like, the tough line to walk with something like that is that if you're you have to kind of engage with like the way that gender does affect like different experiences in the world, which it does, obviously. And that would be
okay. So now she took the blinders off and has admitted that, yeah, there's, differences in gender, but, before she was saying there wasn't, basically, right? So they can't even get their story straight. It's such a confusing mess. Go ahead, Abigail.
Every single one of these leftists that we watch always contradict themselves and each other, like, with everything they say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's kind of weird, isn't it? And it's like we said before, these Marxists, they will have contradictory ideas in their head at the same time, and they will kind of like vacillate between them, but they won't do any work to like resolve that. They will intentionally hold completely contradictory ideas in their mind at the same time and act like it's not a problem. It's part of the Marxist programming in their minds, you know?
Yeah, like that guy who said, race is an illusion. But then before that, he said, I'm so proud to have such a diverse family.
Yeah, yeah. I'm part white, part Native American, part, you know, all this stuff. Race is an illusion. Yeah. Okay.
Like,
all right.
such a tough line to walk. Like, I think it's a line that everybody would want to walk a little differently. So I think that the people who would consume that supplement, there would be a lot of people who were not happy with how it was done one way or the other, because we all have like different, there's no sort of like quantifiable one correct way to do that, you know? So
well, you can never make your type of people happy either. They're always going to complain and be in an uproar about some things. That's basically what she's saying, right? You can never ever make them happy. They're going to freak out about, you know, anything you do that might remotely push the envelope like that.
I love pushing the envelope. The envelope is on the floor right now.
I think it would end up being quite controversial.
So yeah, these rules are kind of crazy, and it seems like the designers realized that, because ever since 2nd edition of D&D, men and women have been treated identically for the purposes of character creation. And watching the original...
All right, so yeah, he kind of gave his analysis. These rules are kind of crazy.
Or maybe it's because they were not core rules and were more of a play test with homebrew and did not gain enough traction to be added into the next edition.
Yeah, maybe it's that. Exactly. And that's exactly what happened. Thanks for that comment, Josh. I mean, yeah, maybe it just never got like mainstreamed in the game. And so, you know, they just, you know, didn't pick it up in 2nd edition.
It's called cut content for a reason.
Yeah, like, you know, this guy's like, yeah, these rules are crazy. No, maybe your ideology is crazy. Maybe the way that you try to pretend that men and women are the same, you know, no distinguishing differences between them. Maybe that is crazy, you know? And maybe this idea that, you know, you got to ask what a person's pronouns are. Otherwise, you just can't tell what they might be. Maybe that's crazy. You know?
Yeah. Let me just ask my dog real quick. Hey,
Stop
Charlie.
Charlie,
what are your pronouns?
Woof, woof.
He just stared at me so confused.
Because you woke
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Charlie. Let me
That's the thing. Like, dogs can always tell who are the male dogs and who are the female dogs. There's no confusion there, right?
love my doggy.
But suddenly when we get to human beings, all of a sudden there's like, you just don't know. You just, how you know? You got to ask what their pronouns are. What? Nope, that's not true. Yeah, so maybe woke retards, maybe your philosophy is crazy, right? Maybe it's objectively, demonstrably crazy. And you know what? People have woken up to that, and your views are going out of style because they suck. People don't like your views. They're going well out of style, and you guys are left behind in your wokeism, and you're looking sillier all the time, every day, because of how dumb your ideas are. I'm sorry, they're just really dumb. And, you know, nothing against you two numbskulls as children of God. I love you both, but your ideology is retarded, and you need to stop thinking like this, because it is absolutely ridiculous. You're making yourselves look like fools.
Yeah, as a human being, I hope for your prosperity, but also you're incredibly stupid, and I don't like it.
Yeah. Oh, well. Orkchild says, I'm a cat. I push the envelope. Yeah. Well, guys, should we, kind of leave it there? Because, I think that we're just going to get some more garden gnome variety commentary from this guy. So, any parting thoughts from you guys?
Go outside.
Yeah, touch some grass.
Yeah, use your eyeballs. Start to notice obvious differences. Men, women.
Talk to women.
He just says you.
I have anxiety.
Excuses. Release us from these harpies, poor child.
All right, guys. Well, I'm glad that we know what the real deal is, and we can talk freely about this stuff, and we're not confused. We know exactly what's going on, and we can call out these people for what they are, which is totally deluded victims of Marxism and just silly people. So I'm not falling for it. Sorry. There's differences between men and women, and to pretend like there isn't is the crazy thing. So, all right, that's my stance. Thank you, everybody, for coming on the stream and for spending the time with us. We sure appreciate each one of you. Great comments. You guys are awesome. Wish we could have you all in the room here with us. That would be cool. Sure appreciate all of you, and everyone watching the show after this. Appreciate each one of you. Thank you, and you guys have a good night, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.